Okay, I thought I'd do a video with some audio in it and talk about what I'm doing at the moment. You would have seen the previous video, and I spent a fair few hours doing a tile for this uh, dungeon type procedural dungeon. All this is being done in VR, and as you can see, it's being done. Well, you would have seen the previous video that I was using instancing. Um, with that instancing, I was getting really bad frame rates, especially doing large dungeons. Um, so at the moment, all we've got in here is 20 tiles, and so we've got the start one, which is the one that we're standing in right now, which I haven't done yet, and then it will go through 20 tiles to the end. Um, the plan is to have up to, like, what I want to do is to be able to do 80 tiles, and that so you won't just be running through like a quick, probably 5 or 10 minutes or something. You'll be doing like a full, um, long, long run at it, and that so the plan within this dungeon, it'd be similar to what you see with a Diablo type game where you go in, you can smash stuff, shoot, um, kill enemies, loot, and that. So it's basically like any RPG. That's what I'm trying to do. What I'm trying to do with this is in VR, and that instead of doing the teleportation, which you would see the teleportation, and I'm using the third person view. So basically, the idea of that is that you've got to manage yourself within the areas. If you're playing like with a screen in front of you, you're controlling the player, and then you're moving around. You have to protect that player also. So if you're teleporting, you could be in one spot, then all of a sudden you teleport over to there, where you're being attacked. So then if you're being attacked and you're trying to move, it will then follow the third person character. So you've got to manage your health and all that. So basically, it's like a any type of RPG without the teleportation. Another reason why I don't use locomotion type movement is myself. I get really bad motion sickness, so I prefer to do it this way. So then I can experience the the level and look around it and get the feeling of what the situation that the player is in, and that. So even though the game I'm developing right now, and that I've actually scared myself a few times. I haven't noticed when the character has come at me. So it is kind of interesting in how it all works together. So we'll start walking through it, and I'll give you some of the stuff that I'm trying to do. As you can see, the lighting system you would have saw in that previous video, I'm putting red and blue lights in. Because I'm putting blue lights in for the shaded areas, so you still need to have light, but the black, you can't have pitch black in here. So the idea is using the light blue light to produce, like, that's where the shadow is, and that. So we'll move in. As you can see, it's a large area. We're going to have in here, the plan is to put in the what do you call it, the some of the boxes, and that, so you can smash them, and that maybe some um, skeletons come out and attack you. Some of them have just got um, money or whatever in there, so you can loot all that stuff. Um, Also, the plan is to have exactly like that, like boxes where you can then loot that stuff out of there and move around. In this section here, you would have seen, this is the one that I did the long video on. This is what it looks like in VR. You can see where that box is, and you see I left that area there. The plan is to put like vases and crates and boxes and all that for the player to smash. We'll move around a bit more. As you can see, it's a large area. You would have seen also there's certain things that will be populated in certain areas. This one here, because of it's the first tile that you come in to start on, the way um, this what you call it plug-in to generate this setup, um, it's got it in there that you can have so many tiles before you can start seeing the enemy. So that there, I've got to modify that to suit the way I want to do it. But if you want to have the same type of um, generation for your game, the guy is I'm trying to remember exactly who he is. If you type in um, dungeon generation, you'll see in there Diablo style dungeon generation. Um, he went through, he goes through the process on how, if you want to learn how to do it, he does a tutorial on there, but also he has the thing there where you can download it and just put it straight in your game, which is what I've done, and I'm just pulling it apart to use it as I need it. So what I'll do is I'll put the link in the description. So if you want to use it, he's got it on there. It's free, and that's so it's a pretty good system. It goes through how many tiles you want to put in. He's only got the base system in there, so you can then modify it to do whatever you want. But it's a pretty good generation type system. So you can see everything's all large to scale. This one here is that free asset that YouTube Unreal put out. It doesn't have what do you call it, VR on the system. It just says it's for um, PC and a few other things. The reason for that is the floor and the walls. He had the high tessellation in the material, and so all you do is just you can turn that instance off, and straight away it bumps up the frame rate. I still got to check. I haven't checked if putting it back on again now. I'm instancing it, see if there's any changes with it. But as you can see, it's running pretty good. If you see the hands shaking a fair bit, yeah, but it's my own personal hands that are shaking a lot. So we'll keep looking around. When it comes to the characters, you can see at the moment I'm still using the third-person character that Unreal's using. The plan is to do a character and then have it so then when you start the game you can be able to see him or her and that. So I'm still at this stage. I'm only making it a game slice. So basically it's just going to have the one character in there, and yeah, I'm just using the what do you call it? Here it's pretty loud. So yeah, I still need to put a light in here because you also saw the previous video comes in and I've put some stuff in there, but I didn't put a light in there. So as you can see, it's really dark in there, and that's the reason why you see I've got a blue lighting here, and that it's red and the blue creates the shadow, like where it's dark. So I could put it in where the player can also hold a torch if he wants, or if they want. So it's able to then go, okay, you can. But if you don't want to have it, you can have it so it's like a stealth type game, where you can maneuver through and try and hide from the enemies coming at you, and so then you're able to sneak up on them and destroy them or kill them. So. Right, this is the next level I did today. This one's a more of an open one. As you can see, the frame rate's really lagging in here because of that there. It's the reason why I'm testing this one today, and so I notice that this one here, that's a really high poly asset. So I know now that I've got to either put a lower poly asset in there, and that because of this room here, like I'll look away from it, and it's still pretty average. The other thing too is if you can see, I've got a lot of lights in here to get this really deep red type look. It's the other thing I've got in here, so I might have to go back and colour some of the lights maybe too, and that. So, but yeah, it's one of those things that I'm still learning, um, and looks like the floor there's up slightly. I must have bumped it. Yeah, it's slightly off. Um, yeah, but that gargoyle looks pretty good there. So I'll see what I'll do. But this is a decent sized room to do some battle in. I've still got to put another wall piece there and there for it comes from one to another. And as you can see, I've also got the ceiling in. So I think the first thing I'll do is I'll cull some of these lights in here, and hopefully that will boost the frame rate. Because in the blueprint you can have the lights set at a set distance. So as you can see, like you can see in the distance there, that there's another tile, and you'll see some of them, the tiles will pop in, and that because I've got the cull distance set. So here we are, we're in another room now. And so that room there should fade out once we move further away from it. Yeah, see there we are, it's starting to fade out now. Now I'm moved away from it. Right, as you can see before, you see from the distance before I moved, you see it was faded out. So I'm still going to adjust the cull distance. As you can see in the distance there, if you can see my hand, you can see in the distance there it's culled. At I've got it culled at I think it's 30 meters, and that's got the culling distance set right now, and that's so yeah. So I can have up to a lot of tiles, a lot of distance, and it's being processed, streaming in as I'm moving along. So pretty soon we should start seeing how many is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So pretty soon we should start seeing some enemies getting around. Alright. And what I have noticed is in the way I've done the AI at the moment, it's just pretty basic. They're just wandering around. They're not actually attacking the player yet. I did have it set to that, and I had some spiders as the enemy, and I'm arachnophobic, and that so yeah, I kind of freaked myself out with that because I'm like really bad with spiders. They freak me out. Uh, yeah, it seems to be the lights that are causing the problem. Yeah, so I'll cull the lights, and hopefully that might solve the problem in this room. Because I like that gargoyle there. It's a bit menacing. It gives a certain type of vibe. Um, Rightio. So let's keep moving. It's nice and bright in here. I'm thinking, I don't know if I should keep the lights this bright or turn them down a bit, so it gives it a bit more a deeper tone, and that so it's more of a, as I'm saying, you're going through a dungeon. You want to be able to be surprised on what's coming around the corner. And this one here, I've modified this tile. There we are, there's one. Modified this tile here. This wall here used to go right across. But when I did another tile, and that I stuffed up on the exit point. I had them coming in and out the same type of area, and then I moved this around, and it didn't take long. It only took an hour to do so. There we go. They're moving around, and you'll find they start congregating for some reason. I don't know why. They start moving to the same areas. Looks like I've got to move over to that way. they're all looking at me. Yeah, I've got it set. I've got the AI set to look at player, but I haven't got them set to attack player, and that's so. Yeah, they're all moving around random positions and just looking at me as they're moving. Alright, so we've got to go over this way. As you can see, I haven't done all the tiles yet, and I still got to do a few more. In total, I think there's 15 first lot of tiles, and as you can see, it's starting to get repetitious, and there's a lot of tiles that are showing up the same. For me to, as you would have seen, there's a lot of hours just to put one together and do the lighting and try and get it to look. And as I'm doing it, I'm polishing it as I'm doing it instead of just roughing it together, unfortunately, like I should be doing. Yeah, this frame rate's pretty good. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to do it that. Scared the shit out of me. I'm trying to do it that way because of the. I don't want to be coming back to it because once I do this, I then want to move on to finishing the AI, get that right, and then I can then move on to the next step of doing the player abilities and what I can use for attack, defense, buff and debuff stuff. So and then yeah, I've got other works in mind too for it, but at this stage I'm just trying to do it basic, so I can get this out. If I can get this out, then you guys can play it and give me some feedback on it, and then go from there. The other thing too is I'm thinking about putting this on not on the marketplace, on real marketplace, but I'm thinking about putting a price on this, probably only about $1. The plan with this, if I can put $1 on it, and you guys decide you want to buy it, that money then I'll then use that to help develop it even more. I can then use that money as my time, instead of doing it as a hobby type thing, and I can then add multiplayer to it, so you can host your own. So you can go, okay, I want to have a multiplayer game going through a dungeon with my friends in VR, and that. So then I'll then put in the other characters such as a tank, a rogue, like this character here is going to be the wizard or the healer, and that's so. There's going to be the different ones, and that's so you're able to then play your type of game going through the dungeon. The other plan is if I'm able to generate a little bit of a revenue source off of this, the plan is then to grow it, and that not just to have this one dungeon and then you can then keep playing, even though it constantly changes. You're going to get bored of seeing the same rooms constantly all the time. So even though you're able to play it multiple times and have some fun with it, the plan is to do other levels and put a bit of a storyline type thing to it, where you're in the world, and that so and take a quest. Like you get a quest and you have to come to this type of dungeon, and you'll have to go through and do whatever you need to do, whatever the quest says you need to do, or you'll have to go somewhere else, go to a city or something like that. So I've still got some more iterations to do, but at this stage, this is just a vertical slice on what I'm planning to do. I'd like to do more, but you can see the characters are getting around. It's might be a little bit too dark in here. As you can see, I've got look at player and it's looking at my feet, so I've got to change that. But yeah, you can see it's still a little bit dark in here, so I might have to work out some way to put some more lights in. Not as many as I did in that other room, but I've got to work out some way of getting a bit more brightness in here. even though I've got that light here to produce a certain type of atmosphere. There's still some dark patches because, as you can see, when he's standing in front of the light, all you see is a shadow. So, but yeah, as I said, I might put some stealth mechanics in there so you sneak up to it, where if it doesn't see you, but it might hear you, and that where then it will then try and find you where the noise is coming from. So there's a few ways that we can play around with this type of game on mechanics on how I can set it up. So the other thing too is if I have more time, like even I can do set this up, get it so it's working, get the vertical slice done, put it on so you guys can then have a look at it, have fun with it, kill some enemies. Ooh, yeah, kill some enemies, and let's have a look at that. Yeah, as you can see, I've still got to set the third-person character with the projectile move through it. So yeah, you can see this one's a fire. Here's the ice, and that I just put them in there so I have a starter point on projectile and hit point. So I still got to do that. But we're slowly moving around. I'm slowly getting through it, and as you can see, there's a fair few there moving, fair few enemies that are moving, and not just within one tile, they're moving amongst a whole heap of tiles. So I still got to change that. I'm thinking about putting a on begin overlap trigger, and that in there, so then as soon as you move into that tile, the enemy spawns in, and that instead of them constantly moving around, or if you guys like it the way it is, where you don't know exactly where they're going to be, because it's a whole entire dungeon there, you know that it's going to be within a certain point they're going to start coming at you, but then you might find, which I did a test last night, where I got close to the end, and then that's where they all congregated. They had slowly moved their way through and congregated all in one spot. So that's the only thing with this type of AI at the moment. So, which I thought was interesting, and that because you can see here we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all here right now. So, and the plan is not just to do like a couple per tile, and that the plan is to do a fair few per tile, and that so you're not just going to have to deal with like one type of character like those ones there. The plan is to do a few different ones, and that because the other thing was, as you would have saw in those other videos, I had a dragon in a cave. The plan is this is the dungeon prior to the dragon, and that say you're going to have a couple of minor bosses on the way to killing the big dragon, and that so it's not just oh yeah we'll kill these things here and then kill some small other ones, and then all of a sudden we've got a massive dragon to fight. You're going to have little bosses here with the skeleton boss, or you're going to have, like I said, I've got spiders in here too, so I could put in the spider bosses also. So, and I had an idea of it's the dragon that has been killing the people and bringing the bodies back into the cave, and then the spiders have been eating the leftovers, and that, but also because of this is a where the dead have been buried, and that the thing is that there was magic or something like that that has brought the skeletons back to life, and that's who you have to get through. You have to get through the skeletons first, then go to the spiders, and then eventually to the dragon. That was the storyline of this cave system. So, um, but yeah, I'm still trying to flush out the storyline of it a bit. I know the projection where I'm starting from and where I'm going to, but the uh, the system is still got to be slowly built up as I'm moving along, and that's so. Yeah, so like a room like this, you see it's fairly large, so I could put in a fair bit of stuff in here, and that like um, put in a whole heap of boxes in here and um, dead bodies, even just skulls and bones just lying around for the ones that have completely just died off, and that. And I may even think about putting in um, like old, um, or what would you say, victims, and that have been dragged in, and so you'll find old weapons, which will then you can then use, which might be a little bit higher than what you are like a normal RPG. So that's how you gain your weapons. Are the ones that have been left behind from previous warriors that have been killed, have come in and been killed, or that have been killed by the dragon, and then are roaming the halls here. So, and as you can see, it just continues on and on. So this is only 20 tiles, and that so as you can see, if you're having multiple enemies throughout these entire tiles as you're working your way through, coming across goods like such as rare items and stuff like that, even body armor. See, the plan is you can also add body armor to the character. You won't see your body armor here on your body here in VR, or you'll probably see like the gloves on your hand or something like that, or the sword in the hand. But then when it comes to the third person character, you'll see he's the one who's got the items on him, and that so you'll go, okay, he looks pretty cool. I like that way that looks, and that so we'll go up here. And this movement system is still not 100%. It's still got some bugs in it. I'm still working at the bugs with it because it's all done in Blueprint. It's not done in C++. Isn't using the VR expansion plugin. This is just my idea of how it's done, because I noticed on the VR expansion plugin that it's the when you have the outer body, it looks like he's using the tick system as it's moving along with a physics body attached to it. It constantly bumps into it as it's moving because he's also got the hands in there, and it's then stopping it from moving to where it needs to go. So, so at the moment I'm just teleporting. It moves to the location. Once it gets to that point, it then teleports the player to that location, and then the third person character, and that is not destroyed, but is hidden in game. That's the way I've got it set up. So if you're wondering how it's done, that's how it's done. And then once I hit the teleport, what it does is it turns back on that's visible, and moves it to location. As you can see, the other thing too is when I teleport, or when I get it to move, it's not actually moving from where I am. It's because I've got a collision box on the camera, and because of that, when it tries to move, the capsule hits the collision box, and it goes, oh, I can't go that way, I'll go around it. So yeah, we'll see, like this was nice and bright in here with the way he is, but it's just the fact that looks like I've got too many lights in here. I've got another one turned up. So if you're wondering where that skeleton is from, that skeleton is from the RPG kit that you would have seen that was on the Unreal Engine Marketplace back in the beginning. That's what that skeleton's out of. Um, so it is a bit thin, but it's also tall, and that. So I'm thinking about the skeleton, modifying him to get him to look a bit more updated. And then we'll keep moving along. I've just thrown in some flat boxes in here and that, so I can then move through the system. So I'm checking how it's all lining up right now and making sure that my gaps for the from one connection to the next one are all right. And as I said, I'm checking my frame rate. So as I'm trying to do this as I'm moving along, because I know now, like that one we went through before, I know now that that's got too many lights in it, or it's that gargoyle has too many polys. So I'll find out which is which, and then I'll know for next time. And that's so. Where'd he go? Right there. Yeah. So as I said, like I've got the hit on it, but and you can see a number showing up in the top corner there. I just haven't got the die thing put in it yet. So I wonder if this is the last tile. How many we got here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There must be another one around somewhere. No. Yeah, so as you can see, even though they're wandering around, you don't know exactly where they all are. And instead of, I could leave these ones here like this and have other ones spawn in within the room, and that, so you still don't know exactly where the skeletons are, but you might find another one's find like another character spawning in, so you've got something else, and that. So yeah, I'm still got to fine tune everything, but I hope you like what I've done so far, and if you do, leave a comment and give me a like, and that, and tell me your thoughts on what you would like to see, and that, so it gives me some information on an idea of where I might be able to get this to go, or an opinion if you think I need improvements on stuff. I'm willing to take criticism and that, because I'm not perfect. I'm just doing this as a hobby, and I would like to be able to do like anyone. I'd like to be able to do game dev and that. But yeah, I have an idea for this type of game and where I'd like it to go. So, as I said, give me a like and a comment, and hopefully you'll probably see another video of what I do, what I've done coming up. I'll keep working on this over the next week, and I'll do another video showing what I've updated and what I found what the problem is within this room here, and tell you exactly how I fixed it. So then if you're making a game yourself and you're wondering, it looks good, how did you do it, what problem did you find, and I could be able to then say, you'll then watch the video and say, okay, now I understand. If you're wondering what system I'm running on, I've just got I think it's a Skylake i7 and GDX 1070, an EVGA 1070. That's all I got. I've noticed the 1070 is basically the bare minimum with VR. I've noticed the 970, even though they say that's the bare minimum, with the type of quality that you're seeing here, the 970 I noticed wouldn't be able to handle this. unless you, the way, because I'm a novice with gaming, with game dev, so it's someone who's got more technical ability may be able to go over the system and go, okay, yeah, you can fix this, fix that, and you better get it on a 970. So, but at this stage, I'm not looking at upgrading my game card or anything because I'm thinking a 1070 is basically a bare minimum you need for VR. I may be wrong, but that's what I've noticed, even with the some of the car games and all that. So, okay, guys, I should just finish this video here. As you can see, it just keeps going on and on for about 20 tiles. So I don't know how many we've gone through. Um, and as you can see here with this, you can see the high poly that this pillar is, and they're throughout this whole entire thing. So you can see it's still going pretty good. It's just these ones here that were heavily tessellated, and that's so you just turn your tessellation off, and it's pretty good for VR. So if you see it on the marketplace, it doesn't have VR icon on it, and that disable the tessellation, you'll be right. Okay, guys, thanks for that. You have a good night.